And was anyone else in attendance at the show called a slur? I understand the person had Tourette's. I know vocal tics are involuntary, but I will say, wow, this is quite on the nose, isn't it? Maybe that's normal. I don't know. Let's have a conversation. So two absolute legends are on stage, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, and they're presenting an award, and they get called the N-word by an audience member who has Tourette's. Now, everybody knew he had Tourette's. The room had already been briefed. Apparently, he had been having tics throughout the show, and there are two conversations happening in response to this. The first conversation happening starts with this question, and I do think the question is asked sarcastically, but does Tourette's make you racist? And people are saying that they know people with Tourette's, and those people don't blurt out racial slurs, so they're not understanding what happened here. And a lot of people are saying they don't care that the person had Tourette's. What he said was inexcusable. There's a second conversation happening though, and that conversation centers around, okay, the person with Tourette's does not mean to hurt you. They cannot control it. Sometimes people with Tourette's blurt out really horrible things, and it's not malicious, it's not bad intent, it's neurological. They cannot help it, and I can hold space for that. Here's the part that I'm struggling with. It's still harmful and hurtful, maybe even humiliating, but I won't go too far. It's at least harmful to be on stage in front of your peers and colleagues and have that word thrown at you. So I'm really struggling because on the one hand, I do understand the arguments, like he didn't intend it, it was not malicious, but the little devil on my shoulder is like, dang, how much grace are you supposed to extend? How much forgiving and forgetting are people going to be asked to do? And I really don't have a clean answer. Again, I'm not saying that there was racist intent. I don't know, but I think at the bare minimum, we can acknowledge that it was harmful and hurt, even though the person didn't intend to do that. And I think it's also okay to acknowledge that people, and we're in a climate where people are just hearing slurs every single day, and people are really sick of it, especially on social media. So yeah, people are going to have really strong feelings about this. I have strong feelings about this, and I think it's okay to sit with that and try not to jump to really rash conclusions, especially if you don't understand everything about the disease. And so I really am trying to hold space, but also acknowledge, like, yeah, bruh.
So since when did Tourette's cause racism? It didn't. It never has. Because you know why? You have to have that in your vocabulary for you to say that, right? Tourette's doesn't make people speak Chinese, right? Guess they don't know Chinese, but you knew the N-word, so you said it. And why is it black people always have to act as if we're not people? Like we're not hurt, like we're not harmed by words and language. They are professionals. At a professional event, they brought that man there. They excused his behavior when he said other things inappropriate, but he specifically said a racial slur. Then BAFTA turned around and made sure they aired it, but clipped the clip about Palestine. We are in the upside down place, and I just want Delroy Lindo, Michael B. Jordan to know your people love you, we support you, and it was wrong, and you were violated. And just because you're a man or a black man, like that man, Delroy is almost 70 years old. They just made a movie about the very racism that they experienced on the stage for their profession in 2026. Get it together. That's why we're not coming outside and never will again.
You ever notice how fast the world tells black Americans to calm down, but never tells the disrespect to calm down first? So I'm scrolling, minding my business, and I see this clip from the British Academy of Film and Television Arts, the BAFTAs. On stage, two respected legends, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, presenting the award. Normal night. Then suddenly, a man in the audience shouts the N-word just like that. And before the shock could even settle, before anyone could process it, the internet had already formed a defense team. Oh, he has Tourette syndrome. He can't control it. Don't be offended. Stop being sensitive. And I'm sitting there thinking, why is the first instinct always to manage black people's reaction instead of acknowledging the harm? Why is the urgency always about protecting everyone else's comfort, but never about protecting black dignity? So I roll out these clips to see how people are reacting to it.
Racial slur was shouted when Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were presenting an award at the BAFTAs. The person who shouted the word has Tourette's. This is John Davidson, and he was at the BAFTAs because he is the subject of a BAFTA-nominated film. BAFTAs air 2 hours after they're filmed, so they had 2 hours to edit that moment or edit that sound, the word, out, and they didn't do that. And then Alan Cumming, who was hosting the BAFTAs, came out later on in the night saying, "You may have noticed some strong language in the background. This can be part of how Tourette's syndrome shows up for some people as the film explores that experience. Thanks for your understanding and helping create a respectful space for everyone." Also adding, Tourette's syndrome is a disability and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette's syndrome has no control over their language. We apologize if you're offended tonight. According to Variety, John Davidson left on his own accord in the second half of the ceremony. I don't feel comfortable including footage of the moment that this happened when I'm sitting here saying that they had 2 hours to either remove the audio, not include that clip. There's options. Award shows do this all the time where they don't include people accepting their awards or they have to cut segments because of timing purposes. But in this moment, it was left in.
So Variety published an exclusive interview with John Davidson yesterday afternoon. The most shocking revelations from this interview are these 2 sections. In the first, John says that he had an expectation that the BBC would physically control the sound at the awards on Sunday. Quote, "I was so far from the stage, from the lack of response from the early presenters to my tics, and with no one turning around to look at me, I assumed, like everyone else, that I could not be heard on the stage." He says that the only time he was made aware that his tics had reached the stage was when Michael and Delroy appeared to look up from their role as presenters, after which he immediately left. Interesting. Then in this next part, John explains that the BAFTAs made them all aware that any swearing would be edited out of the broadcast. He felt they should have been aware of what to expect from Tourette's and worked harder to prevent anything that he said from being included in the broadcast, especially because he was 40 rows back from the stage. Here's the bomb. You ready? Quote, "As I reflect on the auditorium, I remember there was a microphone just in front of me, and with hindsight, I have to question whether this was wise, so close to where I was seated, knowing I would tick." So this man is 40 rows back and he's ticking all night. He made that very clear in the interview too, said he ticked perhaps 10 different offensive words that night, including homophobic tics and shouting pedophile at Alan Cumming after he made a sexual joke about Paddington Bear. So he's going off all night, but he's comfortable at least as much as he can be because he believes nobody on stage can actually hear him, even though there's a microphone just in front of him. And from what he's observed so far, nobody can hear him. Then Michael and Delroy go up to present, and that mic is super hot. Again, this entire ordeal screams either remarkable ineptitude by the BAFTAs or egregious intent, and I'm starting to think the latter.
Actors Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo was presenting an award yesterday at the BAFTA Awards held in the UK on Sunday, February 22nd. While they were presenting that award, the N-word with a hard R was yelled at them while they were presenting. We later found out who said that N-word, and it was Tourette's activist John Davidson, who also has Tourette's. Now, this is my opinion on this situation. This disability in this situation does not excuse what John did. I feel as though John knew what he was saying, and the aggression that he put on it, to me, he meant it. It was later described that he was ticking, but ticking, to say that word, I'm sorry, I can't go with that. Again, I feel as though he meant it. Now, again, people may feel how they want in a situation like this, but to me, 2 black guys presenting an award and you hear that word yelled at them, I'm sorry, being disabled does not excuse you from this. It doesn't. Those men deserve an apology, and I'm going to say shame on the BAFTA itself, or the BAFTA Awards, because this is a pre-recorded show. It could have been left out. So that's my take on it.
I love how black people coming behind this situation. A lot of us are no longer tolerating the disrespect, the abuse, and the excuses that come behind this shit. What you will notice is that black people always have to be the bigger person. We always have to be understanding. We always got to have nuance to things. No, fuck that. And I promise you, bro, we have to keep applying this pressure to every situation. When them folks disrespect the Jews, man, they get, you know what I'm saying, business gets handled. That's how we have to be the same way, bro. Like, people have to stop disrespecting us, dog.
It is so exhausting being a black person in this world. It's so exhausting. And people are like, we're tired of black fatigue, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, imagine how tired black people are. You as a black person, you have to wake up every day and make the intention to try and find some kind of happiness in this world so you don't go insane, because there's always something out there that is diminishing black people. And as a black person, when something happens to you, you have to fight and show people why you deserve the empathy, why you deserve the compassion, because they will always jump to the side of the person who hurt you. It's never just, oh, okay, yeah, that person has Tourette's and it's something that they can't help, but damn, that's also really fucked up. Like, I can't imagine, being called that, and they're doing their job on stage, you're not hurting anybody, and then somebody hurls such a disgusting thing at them and say they should apologize. They will defend that person over you, and then you have to fight. You have to fight to tell them, hey, I deserve the empathy. This is very hurtful. Because even on a regular basis, if you come across somebody with Tourette's and they call you out of your name and they just call you nasty things, you can understand they have Tourette's and be like, damn, that was a little hurtful. That was a little hurtful. But I don't know, black people. I don't know how we do it. Because we are probably the strongest people that I've ever came across. Like, hands down, we have learned how to just keep it pushing and figure out how to find our joy in a world that is so awful to black people. And the fact that they could have taken that part out and they kept it for views and ratings, it's an extra disrespectful thing. I don't know, y'all. I hope y'all can find some little pocket of joy today, because it's exhausting. It's so fucking exhausting.
We have now heard from Delroy Lindo, John Davidson, and BAFTA after the racial incident when Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were up on stage. Y'all saw the way Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan reacted and then just kept pushing through when the word was shouted out. Delroy spoke with Variety, saying that he and Michael B. Jordan did what they had to do in reference to how they had to push through when they were up on stage. But he also added that he wished someone from BAFTA spoke to them afterwards. Really, these two became the face of an incident that they had nothing to do with. John Davidson released a statement just a little bit ago saying, I wanted to thank BAFTA and everyone involved in the awards last night for their support and understanding and inviting me to attend the broadcast. There was an announcement at the beginning of the show saying that John would be in attendance and that he might shout things while he was there. He thanked them for that, and then he goes, I can only add that I am and always have been deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional or to carry any meaning. I chose to leave the auditorium early in the ceremony as I was aware of the distress my tics were causing. And then BAFTA releases a statement recapping what happened. They get into what happened with Michael and Delroy, saying early in the ceremony, a loud tick in the form of a profoundly offensive term was heard by many people in the room. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage at the time, and we apologize unreservedly to them and to all those impacted. We would like to thank Michael and Delroy for their incredible dignity and professionalism. Take full responsibility for putting our guests in a very difficult situation, and we apologize to all. We will learn from this and keep inclusion at the core of all that we do, maintaining our belief in film and storytelling as a critical conduit for compassion and empathy.
So on the topic of the BAFTAs, now that it's out there that John Davidson already reached out privately to apologize, maybe we should shift our focus to who's actually at fault here. Like, maybe we should talk about the fact that BAFTA explicitly told him that they would edit out any swearing before it aired, and he's worked with the BBC in the past, and they've done it before, so God knows why they didn't do it now. Or maybe the fact that there was a microphone right in front of him for some reason. And all of this is just yet another example of elites, people in power, major organizations pitting minority groups against each other, when in reality, they are the problem. As we've been saying from the start of this, they can edit out Free Palestine, but they can't edit out the N-word with a hard R? Like, also, that wasn't his only tick. He mentioned in the article that he had been ticking the entire night, and it was one of 10 offensive things he had said. I didn't watch the broadcast, but if they did, I'm just saying, if they did edit out all of those, why would they have chosen to keep the N-word in? And so maybe instead of suggesting disabled people go outside with muzzles or telling Black people they're too sensitive, maybe we should focus our energies on the people who are actually hurting us.
Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were called the hard R while on stage at the British Academy of Film and Television Awards, and people are saying the man who said it isn't in the wrong?
So say it.
The BAFTA Awards are basically the British equivalent of the Oscars, Golden Globes, or Emmys. And while Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were announcing an award, this happened.
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to celebrate.
So what happened after this, you may ask? Well, nothing. See, the man who said it was John Davidson. He was dropping all type of F-bombs all night because he has Tourette syndrome. And this has sparked all types of controversy across the internet because people are saying he doesn't need to apologize due to his disability. While Tourette's is an involuntary disability, that doesn't mean John shouldn't apologize if it was truly a mistake. Because hypothetically speaking, if a man in a wheelchair ran over your foot, wouldn't you feel some type of way as well? And that's just a hypothetical, as running over someone's foot and using a derogatory term are two different types of pain. Michael and Delroy are incredible men for not only keeping their composure, but keeping their reactions under wraps as well. Because this must have been profoundly disturbing for Michael and especially Delroy, because I know he's probably heard this term being thrown at him multiple times while being in this industry. And the crazy thing about it, this could have been edited out and muted by the British Broadcasting Network. Because for one, the BAFTAs aren't a live event, and for two, they were muting people saying Free Palestine. When Akinola Davis Jr. accepted his award for Outstanding Debut by a British director, he ended his speech by saying Free Palestine, which was muted by the BBC. So if they wanted to keep things professional, why not mute the slur that has been used to degrade Black people for God knows how long? That wouldn't have resolved the issue, but them not doing so shows what side of the coin the BBC are on. Regardless, those of you who are screaming ableism at Black people saying that John Davidson should apologize are extremely tone deaf. Y'all are forcing Black people to not care because he's disabled? When in reality, a simple I'm sorry to Michael, Delroy, the audience, and those watching would have calmed this incident down a lot. But I don't know, let me know what y'all think. Is John Davidson in the wrong for not apologizing, or should he be excused due to his Tourette's?
Let's be very clear. Tourette syndrome is a neurological condition, and people who have it deserve empathy. Full stop. But here is the uncomfortable part nobody wants to say out loud. A medical explanation does not magically erase impact. If someone steps on your foot accidentally, you still feel pain. Intent matters, yes, but impact also matters. And what bothers me is not even the condition, it's the speed. The speed at which people online rush to say Black Americans don't feel that, Black Americans don't react, Black Americans swallow it. This word wasn't built in a vacuum. It was built during slavery. It was sharpened during segregation. It was weaponized during lynchings. It's not just a word, it carries centuries, and yet somehow the burden always falls on Black Americans to be emotionally disciplined for everyone else's comfort. No one says, hey, that might stay hot. Hey, let's acknowledge why this is heavy. Hey, two Black men were on stage representing excellence. That's not a small moment. Instead, it becomes stop overreacting, and that's the pattern when harm happens to Black Americans. The conversation shifts immediately from accountability to tone policing. We can have empathy for disability, and we can acknowledge historical trauma. Those two things can exist at the same time, but telling Black people to shut up about pain, that's not empathy, that's dismissal. See, the real issue isn't one man shouting a word. The real issue is how comfortable society is telling Black Americans to mute their heart every time. And until people learn that empathy is not selective, this conversation will keep happening. You don't get to decide how heavy history feels for someone else. If you can rush to defend, you can also pause to understand. Simple. Thank you, and thanks for watching this video. See you on the next one. Thanks.